Welcome to Aquarian Anarchy, everyone. Our quote for tonight comes from Albert Einstein. Science can flourish only in an atmosphere of free speech. Ain't that the truth? And ain't that like the opposite of what we've been witnessing?
For sure.
With that, I am Chad. You see Marcus and Nicco down at the bottom. And up in the top right corner, I don't know who this is because he invited Marcus and Nicco to come on his show. But he just did. I guess he's too good for me. I don't know.
Chad, you're a Fed. You're a Fed. He didn't.
Oh, you're saying I?
Yeah. I'm just fucking with him. Marcus and Nicco wanted to have you on the show, but I vetoed. So we're gonna ban you right now. No, I'm just joking. Sean Ongley, welcome to the show. I had to do it. Look, I told the guys I was going to mess with you, so that's actually why I wanted to do the intro. I'm going to let Marcus.
You're teasing me because I didn't invite you on my little live stream that gets like
that is correct. That is correct. Yeah, because I went and watched you interview Marcus and Nicco, and I was just like, I'm waiting.
He cried, man.
I'm waiting.
Tears.
I'm waiting.
Gotta spread it out. Gotta spread it out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, welcome, brother. I'm gonna let Marcus do a more proper introduction because he got to spend a lot more time, and he and Nicco both. Maybe I'll let them both kind of dabble in like what they
Sean's my boy. Sean's my boy.
Right. So I'll start it off. I met Sean when he reached out to me to have me on his show. Had a wonderful conversation. You should links to his YouTube channel are down below. Had a wonderful conversation, largely centered on spiritual topics, which is something I love to talk about. And it was, I found that he has a wonderful personality. He comes to freedom from the left, which I find to be an inspiration as well, because, so many times in the circles that we kind of run in, a lot of people tend to come from the right. Mm-hmm. And so I found that he was very insightful on looking at things from a little bit different of a perspective. So that's how I've come to know Sean. And I'll let Nicco give his introduction.
So me and Sean go way back, like a couple months back. So he also invited me on his platform. We talked a little bit about politics, spirituality, and life, the ebb and flow of life. But another thing that I really like is that me and Sean go back and forth with having insightful conversations about specific words, how they pertain to us in our day-to-day lives, and going more in depth. And actually, after this show, I want to parlay about continuing the series and actually going in depth about damn near every word if we can.
Nice.
Let's go.
So Sean, why don't you kind of build on what Nicco and what little bit Chad said and tell us about yourself?
Well, first of all, Chad, nice to meet you and be with you here on your platform.
All in fun, bro. All in fun.
Absolutely.
I'm just messing with you.
Absolutely.
I told him that you were scared because he had helped with Hotep Jesus on one of his shows, and he's been on Sonny Johnson. And I told him that you were scared of him because of it.
That's I doubt it. I very seriously doubt that.
Yeah, no, that's nice of you, Marcus. I'm afraid of, I don't know who I'm afraid of. I was thinking actually today, like, wouldn't it be scary as hell to just like go on Joe Rogan tomorrow? Like, it would be, you got to take your steps. It's like when I was, anytime you start tripping about the future, it's really because you're, like, you couldn't be president right now, but if you did a 2-year campaign, I think you'd be ready by the time you got elected. Right? If you got elected. Anyway,
I would say no one's ready.
No, there's no such thing as ready for that. But same with like having kids or whatever. There's no ready for it. But anyway, it's great to be here. I don't know, what are we talking about again?
Everything. Everything.
So tell our audience, but like I said, I find it interesting that you came to the anarchist kind of belief system and the idea that we own ourselves more from the left. You came from being somewhat,
I would say.
Yeah. And so get into that. How did that happen?
It was Iraq. It was my first election I was looking at Al Gore with going up against Nader on the left, and and of course dealing with
W.
W.
Mhm.
And I was living in Arizona, and so I bought the argument that we had a possible swing state situation, so I better vote Gore. But Pearl Jam was like one of my favorite bands, and they were at a concert, and they're like, "You need to vote Nader," right? So I really wanted to vote Nader out of basically very little information other than that when I heard him talk in the debates, which he was lucky enough to get on at the time. Not lucky enough, but whatever, you know what I mean?
He was able to.
He was making the arguments that sounded quite a bit more reasonable to me, which still are reasonable arguments he makes, like we have socialism for the rich.
Mhm.
You know, we use the state to funnel money for the rich. The Republicans use the state, leverage the state to benefit the rich. So really, we don't have a proper conservatism out of Republicans, and the same goes for the left. We don't have a proper liberalism out of the Democratic Party. So I voted Gore anyway, and then when we started going to Iraq, I had a neighbor sort of showing me Chomsky. We started like going through like torrents, getting Chomsky speeches and stuff, and I didn't understand it. It was so intense. Now when I listen, I like understand completely. I get it, but
You weren't
and
ready
also
for it yet.
Crime Think. There was like some chick at the Starbucks that I worked at who gave me a Crime Think book, and that's like also lefty anarchism.
Mhm.
Now I'm
You
relating a lot
find-
more to conservatism. I understand the argument more, but I still feel like I now just appreciate anybody who's standing up to power, and like like Jimmy Dore on the left. I love him. I'm a
Bill Maher's moving that way as well.
yeah.
Probably always has been.
He's always had a little bit of a. He's always not been completely in any camp. I agree with him sometimes. I used to like his shows a lot back in the day. Yeah, Politically Incorrect was fun.
Hey, can you go back on what is it? Crime Think? I'm ignorant to it. Could you elaborate on the book or the context of the book?
Well, it's like anarchism through a very punk rock sort of aesthetic. You can find them on Twitter. They're still doing publications. I followed them for a minute, but it's weird how I don't know. I mean, this was like a long time ago. It was a lot of arguments about like taxes on like women's products and taxes on this and that. And I just, I don't know. It's not the same as self-rule, which to me is the definition that I care about the most. Yeah, I've struggled with the term and how to define it, and I've pretty much landed at that. And then it liberates me from the concern that I have to overthrow the government, which is not my interest. It's not what I'm trying to do. Yeah, it's
Which
more
means you
about
get it.
I'm trying to rule myself. That's all I'm trying to do, and that's what the anarchist has been doing for all of time, no matter what government has been around.
Very true.
For sure. It's interesting you bring that up because I've been watching my brother-in-law, Aaron, and a lot of people that have watched us a lot know that I'm very close to my brother-in-law. And he's a Seventh-day Adventist minister, and he did a series that was basically a video that was put out by the Seventh-day Adventists who in it, it's the general case that they're making in this is that the United States was formed to basically for freedom of religion and those kinds of things. But in the second video of the series, there's 4. He makes the case. He doesn't know that he makes the case, but he makes the case that Jesus is an anarchist. Says outright, Jesus says, I don't remember where it was. It might have been Deuteronomy. That's the book that comes to mind. But it says that you should bow to no other authority than God. And that a true, and they make the case that a true Christian would never have any kind of king. And there is another section of that where he talks about, like, we got to realize that we're not there, and it gives the case that God basically says, okay, if you can't get, in my words, to anarchy, you got to get to menarchy. and the United
Mm.
States is that. So it sounds like that you have had a kind of a similar journey as what Jesus would have suggested, that it is self-rulership, that it is that ability to find only a king in heaven.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that I I keep leaning stronger toward this notion of liberty and
Mhm.
anarchy, and the more that I accept the notion of Christ, or that there is even a savior, like that wasn't a concern of mine, that there was a need for a savior, you know what I mean? I don't know, but then you have an experience in life where you actually feel a presence, and then it changes you, and you now from there on you have to look at life differently. And I've always followed, well, I see, okay, we talk about the religion thing, but since I have been an adult, I rejected all forms of religion, but also embraced the teachings of Buddha, and followed J. Krishnamurti from a perspective of how to avoid religion while still appreciating teachings.
Sure.
What about religion made it such a huge turnoff? What about studying under like the Buddhist mindset? What drawed that toward you and made you like disregard, not necessarily disregard, but not necessarily take the approach of other religions?
I mean, I think I was conditioned to the idea of reincarnation. And so an alternative to what I was raised on, to give me this, some answers to reincarnation, or also a moral framework that made more, just had a simpler. I still feel like Buddha is the great teacher. I see now Christ. I don't see Jesus, the image of Jesus that we have, as being our Christ. That image, I feel like, is a kind of an extension of the state in a way. That's not. I don't know.
How do you mean?
It's
Elaborate
an
on that,
image that's used by the state, and the state used to be the Vatican. The state used to be the church, basically. So, and it still is leveraged by any system of power, the image of Christ. So I have a hard time idolizing.
Idolizing, yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time with. I think that the Islam has a good point on that. Idolatry is dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's an ideal. You cannot understand God. God to the human mind is something that we cannot fathom. You can get at the like angels, you can get at the ideas proposed by a prophet or a saint, but we don't get God. We just don't. And I think that I think Voltaire's right that treasure those who seek after truth and beware of those who find it.
Interesting.
Bars.
At least those who claim to find it, right? I mean,
Right.
That's the thing. It's because I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around this this idea of. I kind of think I know where you're coming from, Sean, but I'm also
I would love to talk with you directly.
Still kind of struggling with that.
You're Catholic, right, Chad?
Yeah, I am. I'm yes, and also I'm kind of leaning more toward like orthodoxy, like old school, like pre Roman Catholicism, sort of. Anyway, but that's another whole conversation. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the. I get what you're saying about the state using you, because there's a lot of that stuff that becomes like bastardized versions of something, but I don't. What I try to be wary of is throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, no, because the state uses Christ in this way, therefore Christ is the problem. And I'm like, I don't really.
No, I see how dangerous it is to reject Christ, man. Don't do it.
Yeah, because like when you were talking about it, I was thinking, I was like, like and Marcus was saying the thing about like having you both were talking about having a king here, like an earthly king or an earthly ruler or something like that. And I go back to like that very poignant phrase that, you cannot serve two masters. You can't serve God and mammon. It's impossible. Like you have to forsake one to serve the other,
For sure.
because so ultimately when you find like what that divine, what I'm going through, the way I see it is like this divine intimacy, this intimate relationship with God, with the Creator, with whatever you want to call it within your for me, it's divine, a divine intimate relationship with God that has it's not that it has rules per se, although a lot of times people try to put rules onto that. It's more of like, if I want to have a really, really deep, intimate relationship with my wife, I know that means that like certain things are going to be a hindrance to that. There are things that are going to get in the way. If I can't get off the couch and stop watching football when she needs me to like help her
Ego.
to, right. Exactly.
All kinds of manifestation of ego.
Feeding my ego makes it harder for that relationship to be I can say a lot of words. I love you. I'm committed to you and everything. But if I do the opposite with my actions, the words ring hollow, right? So it becomes that sort of thing for me. So that, anyway, I'm glad you clarified that, because I was kind of,
I don't know what I did.
Yeah. Well, no, you said like you've recognized the danger in like I guess rejecting yourself,
Yeah.
So tell us what it is that you have come to believe. I get that you are influenced by Buddha. I think frankly, my personal belief, if you study religious history and get particularly into the Gnostics, Jesus was influenced by Buddha, and you can see it pretty obviously in several of his teachings. But
I've seen
what
that
is it
kind of
that you
stuff.
believe?
Yeah, I've seen those kinds of documentaries or whatever about that idea, and I don't know. I'm not too concerned about even whether or not these people existed in the way that the history, the stories tell us, as long as that these stories are genuine and have gems. But I don't know. I still feel like Buddha offers, through in fact, I meant to study so that I could call it offhand what the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths are. But the Four Noble Truths leads the Eightfold Path, and it's pretty easy to memorize it, but I don't have it memorized because I'm not into it like that. Same thing with anarchy. I'm not into studying the authors of it. It's just not what I'm interested in, man. I'm still interested in
being free.
Pretty typical literature and pretty typical movies and stuff, like average person, and I watch Cobra Kai, you know what I mean? It's not.
Hey, look, it's terrible, but it's also awesome. Like that's a great way to describe it. Like it's because at some point you just have to be human, right? Like we still get to be human.
Movement is a spiritual practice for sure. I do yoga, and I found that there's karate in yoga. And I need to get myself some karate training. Honestly, it's kind of like a leftover New Year's resolution from last year, but I got really good at yoga last year, so I kind of
nice.
All right. Okay, it's all good. I'll carry it over.
Yeah, there's a couple of teachers that really get into that. Lots of the Sufis, the whirling dervishes, and that whole thing is one thing. But there's actually a particular spiritual teacher that was contemporary with Aleister Crowley and Blavatsky and all of them. His name is Gurdjieff, and he actually worked out particular movements that guide you towards God. And what I found really interesting about Gurdjieff, and I'm not an expert on him, I've studied him lightly. But one of the things that I like about him is like in when you come to a teacher, often they're like, go read this book or go do this or do whatever that is, this spiritual practice or whatever. When you got to Gurdjieff, he said, go build a hut. Go over here and build a shed. And
that was that King Randall, find your work ethic before you find your purpose. That was the perfect metaphor for that. Yeah.
And Gurdjieff is very much into that. So I respect that, and I see that. And I think I live some of that myself. I'm a heady person, but I think that's true.
It's like have you heard of like Kundalini yoga?
I don't know specifically what it is. It's something
So
like your energy.
the Kundalini is basically it's a serpent. I might butcher this, but it's a serpent that lies dormant at your root chakra, and basically it's an energy that's dormant in majority of people because they don't exercise it and they don't continuously work on using like the energetic practices to give it life. But long story short, when you do yoga, you can this is fun. You can like actually open yourself up, your portal. So when you are doing certain movements and holding certain positions, you can either you can basically have something jump into you, like spiritually. Fun shit. But no, but as you continue to work
I'm
on
just an LA
Kundalini
Fitness. I don't know about that.
I was going to say, careful, because hopefully it's the right kind of thing that
yeah,
jumps in.
no, yeah, oof,
Pause.
Shouldn't
But-
give it that ad.
He's got a serpent coming up his base chakra.
It travels up to your spine and it goes all the way up to the top of your crown chakra, and that's when you're an aligned individual and all types of bursts of energy and being basically in sync with yourself along with your higher self. It's a like you said, a movement practice that helps you become closer to God, and that's legit a process for you to move around and stretch out your body, so you can get rid of tense things that you've held on to your body for such a long time. A lot of people don't understand, like a lot of diseases that accumulate to an individual is because they never detox themselves. Everything is so knotted up, and energy is another thing. So if you keep that specific energy in you and you've never loosened it up or, you know, massaged its way out, it can corrupt the individual energetically. So doing the Kundalini yoga, just you know, just down the line, and you're just the holistic, holy person.
That sounds good, man.
There's lots of places you can look at that, but I think you're right, Sean, and I think you should elaborate, if you can, on what your thoughts are as it relates to doing, because you're right. So much of the time we get so sucked in to rules, and we become our own state. We start, dictating, and this is why there's so many divisions of anarchy. Who gives a shit if you're running your life? Who gives a shit what you call yourself? So how would you actively, what does your active thought process in living your life, how does that guide you towards an agorist, or because that's kind of where I would define it, or an anarchist life?
Oh man. Well, I would say ego drove me in the beginning. Now it's all changing. I mean, that's something Nicco and I have been connecting on. It's this idea of doubt. I think we might thread that through.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, we'll throw that in there.
So that's like and the opposite of doubt is faith, Chad. So faith is what I'm coming to over and over, like that. All the logic, the best logic comes down to faith all the time. So, in the beginning, though, it was ego. It was just that's the problem. I didn't want. I just knew I couldn't. I hated. I didn't want to. Even the idea of taking a drug test, let alone not smoking pot for a few days or week or whatever, like just refusing to submit to all the rules. Like a lot of that was just out of ego. So I'm not gonna be too proud of that, and learn your work ethic before you learn your purpose. I was taking on massive projects, massive community work, community radio festivals, community festivals, starting a 501c3, all this stuff before I even respected the dishwasher job. I've been finding myself doing temp work this year, doing dishwashing work and giving it 110%. You know what I mean? Like I'm humbler than ever. And yet I'm about to be 40. I'm almost 40. Homeowner, been through all kinds of shit, educated. I should be above dishwashing, right? But I'm like, fuck that. It's allowing me to rule my life and do what I want to do today. And it's funny how that is. So I didn't have a work ethic. So I was doing a lot of this big community work and playing music all the time. And being just, kind of a locally famous person there in Portland, Oregon, the bubbliest, leftiest place. And it
Right.
wasn't, and it was a little different back then, like when it was in my prime out there. A lot different, by the way.
Mhm.
So I think that path led me through all kinds of community projects. Volunteerism comes natural to me, and I suffered through a lot of poverty doing all of this stuff. I refused to get a real job so that I could keep a nonprofit going, so I could keep doing festivals and playing music and doing radio and whatever. And I just kept doing that for years, all this time. And I moved to Philly and kind of buckled down, worked, kind of gave up a lot of those dreams, but bought the house. And that's enabled me to then come back to where I am now. I'm podcasting, I'm making music again, coming back to it. I'm looking forward to, and because maybe, as Nicco says, you got to be practicing your health, letting go of the shit, keeping young. I don't think I look for it. I think I got a good 20 years of hardcore work ahead of me, and I'm excited about that. But you got to have faith. You got to have faith in the next 20 years.
So can I ask you a question about the dishwashing thing?
Yeah.
So you're let's take you there. Let's take the audience there. So you're washing dishes. What does that look like? You got AirPods in, you listening to music, or are you just in silence, like with your thoughts, or a little bit of both? Maybe,
I like to banter with the more comfortable I get, the more I talk too much.
Okay. So you banter with your fellow coworkers, or
I'll put earpods a little bit, but it depends on the work. Temp work, I've been to all kinds of department stores and warehouses and whatnot.
Right.
And sometimes you just got to put the earpods in. But
yeah,
in the restaurant, I feel like there's enough activity and noise going around. I'm not interested in. I don't need it.
You got a lot of noise. That's okay. So, are you the type of person to like say doing dishes at home and then doing dishes at work? Is there a different feeling, as in like thought process when you're doing them at home opposed to doing it at work? Because some people are just working all the time. So when they're at home, even while they're doing the dishes, they're thinking about 100 million steps. For me, I go down and do the dishes. Either I'm listening to a podcast or staring out in my backyard. And when I stare in my backyard, I just start thinking about a whole bunch of shit. If I'm listening to music, it allows me to spew off somewhere, but I'm free to thought, opposed to having being free to thought and being focused on thought, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. If my mind's too cluttered, I can't listen to a podcast, but music might help center me or something. Thich Nhat Hanh has a good thing about mindfulness and doing the dishes. It's just another opportunity to meditate. You don't really need a machine. I don't let dishes pile up either, so I do them right after I finish eating.
Same.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I figured there was some sort of, maybe not catharsis, but at least like a meditative maybe aspect or process. That was
if
part
you
of
don't like doing dishes, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Most people I've like, we're talking about 60% of all people.
Yeah,
I don't think an elite class.
I don't think people like to sit down with their thoughts. Like when you're like,
we go way out of our way to avoid them.
TV is that.
You feel me? So like people would rather have the distractions, but like cleaning is so fun. Like and then it's not fun because it feels like a duty. And when you gotta when you have to do something, the responsibility, it's either you already have the mindset of, okay, well, I have to get it out the way, or you find a reason for it to be fun. But
the problem of volunteerism is right there. You can't. I volunteer at the creek. I live right by a creek here in Philly. We have 4 great creeks left. I live on one of them, and it's a filthy mess. People are dumping. I actually pulled out a bunch of statues in one of our last big cleanups. One of them was Christ, and I took it home. And well, Jesus, the image of Jesus with Mary, his mom. He's bleeding. He's off the cross now.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, is it the Pieta? Where she's like holding him?
Yeah.
The pity.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but what I'm
Pull that
hearing,
out of it. And, well, I just finished that thought. And that was just a side note of it. Like I go volunteer at the park, and most people that are down there at those events are not on my block or in my neighborhood, and if people have a hard time like volunteering to take care of their own selves, their own dishes, how are they going to go down and clean the park? How are we going to realize this world of volunteerism when most people can't even?
Because most people are paying the state to do it, or at least think they're paying the state to do it. If you know that it is your responsibility, and one of the things that you would do in like, for instance, in my community, if my neighbor had a fucked up yard and they had shit and trash all rolling over into my yard, my neighbor behind me, I think it was last year, he came by and was like, "Can I spray your weeds? Because I don't like weeds." And I was like, "No, I don't want chemicals on my yard." But if that shit was flowing into my property, I would go to my neighbor and say, "Stop fucking doing that." And because I care about my neighborhood. But that's not generally what we do now. No, you call the town council and you have them deal with it, because most people in a statist idea think, I've paid for this, and they're right. I've paid for this, and that's their job.
Is that
so
kind of wanting
story.
like a savior? I got you, Chad. But like, does that what enforces the ideology of us needing a savior?
The state, or what?
Like always wanting the state to do something. Like, for example,
I think it makes the president our savior, and we have this savior complex on the president.
And he's retarded currently.
So the story that I was going to tell may help to like illuminate some of this. I think some of that is like, it's not like we woke up one day and we were in our 20s or 30s and we said, "Hey, you know what? This anarchy thing isn't working out great. Let's have a president take care of all of our problems for us." Like, we were born into this. And we were born into this certain level of expectation. So the story I was going to tell is, back when so my wife was working, we had our first child, and I think maybe my son was on the way. My oldest son was on the way. So like the kids we have one kid, and she's little. She's like 3, 2, something like that. And I mean, she was little bitty. I think she might have been 3, and he was born already. But anyway, nonetheless, we had a housekeeper who we started paying to come like once a week or something like that to clean up some stuff around the house, because my wife was working. We hadn't made the decision yet for her to stop working. She stopped working for like 8 years, but at that time she was still working. So I hired a housekeeper to help out with some of the stuff, just to keep her from going insane with little kids and all that shit. So one day, my daughter there's like a wrapper on the floor or something like that. She had just thrown it on the floor. And my wife's like, "Juliet, pick that up." She goes, "Juana, that was like her little, she's like, the maid will pick that up." So, because in her mind, it's like, well, that's, she goes around cleaning up whenever, the once a week that you're paying her to come and clean stuff up. So like, why would I do that? So like, to a certain extent, like, some of that stuff is just, if you establish early on that that's your responsibility. So like, we had to have a talk, like, no, listen, this is you don't get to just throw stuff on the floor and wait for somebody else to come pick it up. You got to take care of your own stuff. And the stuff that we're paying her to do is like some of like the other, like some very detailed, like basically having the house detailed on a somewhat routine basis once a month or something. Anyway, that's just like I think a metaphor for like how we approach the state and our relationship to it is like, people see somebody homeless on the side of the road and they're like, no, like, the soup kitchen, the whatever, the homeless shelter downtown will take care of that. Somebody will take care of that. It's the money that I give to whatever charity that'll take care of that.
Well, even if you didn't have all that,
even
if you didn't have all that, you should still assume that somebody's family should be taking care of that person.
Right, exactly.
But I mean,
but even with that, families, Yeah, families do that though. Families do that to their own, where they just like they're like, well, no, you
Sometimes
have
you have to.
insurance and you have all this other stuff. Yeah, I mean, I get it to a certain degree, but I'm just saying, like, I think we have a built-in dependence that comes from this expectation of something that's already there, and we haven't
For
been
sure.
shown the alternatives.
For sure. And the more you dig in, the more that the voters dig in, and the more that
Mhm.
the legislators make the laws complex and impossible to unwind.
Right. Hmm.
It's just some people say that we're in a hopeless state. We're in a hopeless situation, a failed state. I would say we're damn close, but not there. And I'm
I have a
hopeful.
lot of hope.
It's perspective.
There's
It's
too much
genuinely
talk.
perspective.
There's too much talk about secession, but I think people who are smart see how dangerous that is. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think. See, okay, I think I heard it on this show one time. It might not have been this show, but I think it was. But somebody raised the idea. I don't know who it was. Listened to too many podcasts.
Marcus Reeves Evans, probably.
Yeah.
Well, just go ahead. What's
The idea is that the state came naturally through the free market. That there's no point. You can overthrow the state, but then people are going to be looking around for a leader. Who's going to lead the resistance? Somebody's going to lead the resistance, and then they're going to lead the new government. There's always, to me, there's no thought experiment that's been presented to me that I've been able to discover either way, where you get outside of the government. I don't see where we don't have a government. I feel like we need it, but we also have we've built a monster out of it, an exquisite corpse of a government.
Well, I'm gonna go back to what Aaron was talking about, because I found some enlightenment in this particular case, and so there's gonna be a lot here, just saying, but. One of the things that they made the case for that is in Revelations, when it is talking about the second beast who comes and looks like a lamb and then speaks like a dragon. That's the second beast. It's when that beast comes, they make the argument that is a description of the United States, that it looks like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. And they make the argument about that. Now they take it to mean that eventually he's going to do that and things are going to decay and this and that. I disagree, because it's in one sentence. It's very quick. Mm-hmm. That devil, that beast that they are identifying with the United States, the beast, the big beast, the bad one, the awful one, the final one, is the United States of America, if they are correct. That is terrifying. And that means, as a spiritual person, it is our obligation to stand against that kind of control. It has to be stopped.
Yeah.
So one of the ways you can do that is by weakening its power, which comes back to the secession idea. But to finalize, the state is not inevitable. One of the things we have to do is divide the idea of being a leader from being a king. Those are two very different ideas. I am a leader. I have led lots of people. I have never been a tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a tyrant to my siblings. I'm sorry, guys.
I gotta say, I probably no cap. I've probably done the same thing.
I would say most of my mistakes in life have been control, wanting to control outcomes, control people, control situations. I was the president of the nonprofit. You know what I mean? Like, I had dozens of volunteers, but you have to be actually pretty amazing to inspire them and to lead them. When the stress comes on, I was a vicious beast, I was terrible. I was.
But you're in a different mindset now.
No,
You having this
yeah.
experience.
I wasn't always an asshole all the time, but
No, but
just
like
like so you remember those moments where you snap at people or become a dickhead, and those you just remember that. And I think it's good
That's what I
because I was
talked about on my thing this morning. That's
Did you're what?
or was it yesterday or this morning? I
It
don't
was this
remember.
morning.
It was this morning. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I was
it's
an asshole to
important.
my
I think
wife.
it's really important to review that stuff, not to dwell on it, but to review it.
Mhm.
And I think that you don't even have a choice. I do believe that you are confronted
Well,
with
thanks to her, I have no choice but to dwell on it because she will remind me.
Yeah.
So it's no, but I know what you mean. Like to not beat yourself up about it.
Well, I
To
think
like
that
to offer yourself some grace and some room for growth.
Yeah, and according to Buddhist thought or a lot of reincarnation thought, it's that you have to go and actually experience the ways that you were shitty to people, but not just the ways that you were shitty to people through their lens, but then the ways that affected other people that day.
But it doesn't even have
It
to be
is a domino
reincarnation.
effect.
It doesn't even have to be reincarnation. You know, Jesus said, "What you sow, you shall reap," and so it can be in this lifetime,
or like it's in the between stages, like your life review stages.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
Can
and-
I take a minute to push because I want to not push back, but I just want to like offer an alternative perspective.
Go
What's
ahead.
that?
Yes, and it.
Yes, and it. No. So it's not even a yes and. No, this is you were talking about secession being terrifying.
I think it's very dangerous.
Really?
Yeah.
So all right. So here's my challenge. So, is it dangerous for the United States of America to not be completely irrevocably combined with Mexico, Canada, all of South America, Brazil, Argentina, all of that stuff, and then also all of Europe, all of Africa, and all of Asia?
That's interesting.
So, like, what we have some divisions already. So, what
Well,
is
I'm a
terrifying?
decentralist.
What is terrifying about having it be less?
I'm a decentralist.
Less centralized.
I'm a decentralist. What I want to do is one thing I would like to do is redraw our cities to smaller cities. We in the mid 1800s took many cities, many towns, boroughs, and townships, and combined them and centralized power into cities, and that made the courts inefficient, the police inefficient, representation.
As centralized power always does.
Right. So it can be very efficient for the state. It can be very efficient for industry, like you see with China. Central power.
How is it efficient? China doesn't control most of its population. The majority of its population is actually outside of their control. Most people don't see that.
Mexico's the same way. Yeah, Mexico's the same way. Like there's parts of Mexico where it's like they couldn't enforce their laws if they tried because it's not they're so spread thin and
there's parts of Philly like that, man.
There's probably I mean they're really low key. There are, and it's the same way with the rural areas all over. Rural areas all over the country. Like I've been so perspective. Like I've been traveling through from like Baton Rouge to nearly Houston for the last 2 years. Okay. In Baton Rouge and like in the bigger cities, like there's like this stuff where the people are like enforcing mask mandates and all this other kind of stuff. Everywhere else, you go into like the gas station in like rural Louisiana, nobody in there, including the employees, is wearing masks. So they don't get like, you know what I mean? And there's nobody, the sheriff will be in there and he's just like, whatever. Like,
and my part of my low income part of the city that I live in, masks are off. I go to the gym, they're off. I go to Home Depot, they're off. I don't wear it anymore. I don't bring it. I maybe bring it in just in case, but I don't put it on the way in, and I'm never getting trouble anymore.
My aunt yelled at me earlier because my mask wasn't over my nose.
Yeah.
I was out and about, and I'm like, my bad. I didn't mean to offend you.
Now we do have vax mandates here in Philly now for bars and restaurants. And stuff, so
it's okay. We didn't need to spend any money. No way.
Right now I am pretty busy just remodeling my kitchen and shit. And I'm not, earning money.
It is funny though that they want you to, if you want to go to a bar and like get filled up with smoke in your lungs from the people smoking cigarettes and cigars and everything, and like binge on alcohol, you have to get a shot to be healthy. It's like,
Right.
all right.
Yeah, and again, that's centralized power. And I would, again, to back up what Chad was talking about, I really think it could be done. You know, and Marcus Rees Evans made and go back and watch his arguments. At least California and Texas, and this is the very least, California and Texas would be much better off without us. Would be much better off without the United States in their bullshit. And people say, oh, but California would be communist. You're right. And a big part of their right now, he has the number.
California go, man.
But
Can't see that happen because that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of basically just going to go straight to China.
No,
straight
it's not.
to China. Yeah.
Good luck. Good
Doesn't
luck.
China have a lot of property
see-
and a lot of its capital in Cali?
Yes, they do all along the western seaboard there.
Sure.
If we start breaking up the United States, I see parts of it going to South, like to Asia, parts of it going to the South America.
I mean, didn't we sell ourselves already? Not us, but like America already sold out to China. So it's like,
there's been selling out.
Well, all right, but
I used to boycott Chinese goods until it became impossible, and and that was on the basis of Tibet. That was on Tibet. That was all that was for.
Yeah, now you have to sit in a corner and not eat if you want to not get anything from China.
Yeah. I'm not going to have an iPhone.
You have to do like this. You have to go, I'm not going to breathe anymore.
Yeah, it used to be like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to get like crappy Dollar Tree stuff. Now it's like everything.
Right.
The best stuff in the world, the iPhone, comes from China.
So given the fact that that's already there, and then
our president is controlled by China.
Yeah,
right.
But for like, so let's take this though. Let's like really like break to, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just want to like finish this thought off on California specifically. Okay, so let's say California says to the U.S. to Washington D.C. You think they're going to be like
from there? You know, I don't want to.
You think they're going to be at that point? They're going to be like, "Hey, who wants to buy us now?" Like, no, they're going to be like the next whoever it is who comes in and tries to say, "Hey, we're going to come." They're going to be like, "Bro, don't you just realize that we like kicked out the biggest empire the world has ever known? No, get the fuck out." So that's kind of the way I look at this going down. Is that
I don't know
if well, I mean, you have to think like. The people
who hate California. Why are you trying to get rid of California?
No. California is trying to get themselves
rid of the
United States. They're trying to leave. They want to have a peaceful divorce. And the point I'm making,
Californians are trying to leave. That's
the point I'm right. But the point I'm making is that if the entire state of California or enough people to where they have the votes or whatever to break free from the United States. If the public mindset is at that point where they say, fuck you to the United States and to Washington, D.C., you really think they're just going to roll over and play dead when Chinese from across the Pacific Ocean come and try to
You're thinking of it from a liberty mindset, which is your mistake. You need to be thinking it from their communist mindset.
But this is directly from Marcus Rees Evans.
Yeah, it's totally from a liberty mindset. Yeah, it's we don't want to be part of this anymore. We don't want to be beholden to whoever whatever the Republican Party Ted Cruz or Trump or whoever gets put in office. So and then with Texas, it's the opposite.
Yeah, but I think that it would be naive to think they wouldn't be looking for communistic leftist partners and
do you believe in the free market? Because if you believe in the free market, then they will learn because they will have to learn that won't work. I also want to point out, remember when China invaded Britain a couple years ago?
No.
Right, because they seceded from the European Union.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't get taken over by China.
Right.
That's
right. Well, but that's I don't know.
Because when you have that mindset,
wait.
It's nationalist. I don't know. To me, here,
I
for
think
me,
California seceding would be pretty nationalist. It would be, they have their own, they already kind of think they're their own country anyway.
For sure.
I don't like it.
Just
I'm
like
from
Texas
California.
does.
My ancestry is like Pennsylvania, but
Yeah.
but my folks in that whole migration out west in that time of the deindustrialization, I'm from California, and I want to be able to take a road trip across the country.
Why can't you?
And go there and not have any trouble with a passport to California.
You already are going to have that trouble anyway.
Well, no.
But
They're making it. Gavin Newsom when he's
I could go to Orange County beaches and have no problem.
Well,
but
that would probably
San Diego's chill. It's the LA area and San Francisco area that's nuts. But I can still freely roam through there. I want that about our country. I love that about our country. I love how big it is. I love the decentralized nature of our Constitution. The fact that we have,
but we don't follow the Constitution.
Well, I understand that. That those are problems to be solved. But you look at the fact that what country was under the greatest influence of the globalists and the plan to vaccinate everybody and the plan to mask everyone up and do the COVID thing. What country was under the most pressure? No, it was the U.S. For sure, it was under the U.S. But because of our decentralized system, we resisted it, and we're coming around.
I think it was more about
we need to enhance that. We need to go further decentralized, and I think that's the only way we can. If you want to have a utopian utopia, I think the only way is you have to slowly decentralize, and then to weaken the federal powers across the world. Then maybe there can be systems, right? But I still don't. I don't have a problem necessarily with a federal system, but I want all of the laws to liberate me, to keep me free, and I don't want there to be much power over. I don't want there to be any power over how that money's spent. I want all that money staying in my community, being determined with how it's spent through my community. I want all of the power and all the leverage in the communities, but I don't necessarily.
What do you need a federal system for, though? What do you need?
What do they do?
What does DC need to do if your local community is going to take care of?
Well, you see what
stuff, and you're going to keep the money and the resources there.
You see what it does through certain federal projects, and that I don't see a problem with, such as freeways.
But they siphon that money from the community, and there is not there. We did the research.
Problems to solve, but I'm saying that
no. Let me finish.
It's not necessarily corrupted.
Let me finish this section. There is nothing. We did the research. I worked for Adam Kokesh for 3 years, and his platform was the peaceful dissolution of the federal government. And we did the research. There is not a single thing that the federal government does that the states don't do. Not one thing. And so everything is a double charge.
They're just charging you for the stuff, and then they give it to the state and let the state do whatever with it. And it's like, well, why did you have to take it from us to start with? Why don't you just let us do it here?
Right.
So except that a bunch of people on K Street get rich.
Yeah, there's issues.
Yeah,
there's issues.
So at the end of the day,
most people, like, that say, for example, run for president to be libertarian president. It's not like tomorrow after I'm being president, I'm going to dissolve the federal government. It's always like,
that's exactly it.
Well, no.
Yeah. Well, no, he's saying most people. He's right. Like most people, most of them don't. Most of them are trying to just be like, I would make us not do war as much. Like it's
you had Spike
weird,
Cohen.
sort of like pussyfoot and shit.
You had Spike Cohen. One of the things he always says in his interviews is, I may have my own opinion and dream of the future, but I would rather take it in that direction than to try to come around and just do it all at once. He understands the nature of compromise. To me, anarchy is compromise with your community. You may want to get rid of the federal government, but you're also going to have to talk to everybody in your community, and you're going to have a very hard time with that argument. So you might as well, to me, I'm taking a compromise position.
Yeah.
Because I don't see in my world people being responsible enough to be able to handle self-responsibility.
I see what you're saying. You're saying that like you kind of have to start that and grow it from the ground up rather than the top down.
I think it takes generations. It's going to take generations if it's ever going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
technology
And that I
is
agree
a
about.
part in it. Automated
right,
smart
so-
contracts, things like that.
So we've tackled the important topic not only of secession but also of dishwashing.
Yes.
On Antiquarian Anarchy, we always tackle the tough subjects. The next tough subject is we're going to go back into Pearl Jam because you said you grew up like Pearl Jam, like that was
Pearl Jam and Nirvana.
That's
Yeah.
about music,
Pearl
man.
Jam, like 1991, 1992. That was like that was my senior year in high school. That was like Pearl Jam was my. Shut up, Nico.
Hey,
We know
look,
you
I
weren't
wasn't
alive
even
yet,
conceived
motherfucker.
of.
Just
I wasn't
shut up.
conceived of. I wasn't thought
Yes,
of.
we know that.
My
We
parents
know.
didn't even.
We know.
Look, I don't.
Nobody wants to hear that shit, Nico.
I'm just
None of us.
missing
We're
out
all
on the. I'm FOMO of missing out on what y'all are about to reminisce in.
But
Okay.
so-
You know what,
So,
Nico?
are you
didn't
familiar
have-
with Mother
yeah.
Love Bone?
Yeah, sure. And Green
Okay,
River.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. He's got it all. All right. So my man knows it. He's a legit Pearl Jam fan. Okay. All right. So we got that. Because I was talking to somebody the other day. Shout
Hair
out
the
to True
dog,
Sample.
man.
He said he was talking about Temple of the Dog and everything.
Or Temple of
and,
the
and I
Dog.
was
That's
like,
what it was.
and I was like, yeah, man, Mother Love Bone was it was a shame, they only had the one album. He's like, I don't know who Mother Love Bone is. I was like, how do you like the whole Temple of the Dog album
It's 4 months.
is a tribute to Andrew Wood.
Right.
Like, how can you not know who Mother Love Bone is? I don't get
Yeah.
it. But anyway, so let's talk about some music because I see you got the drums in the background and everything. What's your vibe with that? I know you talked about some of the punk stuff and everything.
I've been working on my memoir about music. My blog, it's to me hits a few things. This memoir stuff for my blog. It's for one thing, it's hard for people to see the story and what I've been through and what kind of experiences I have and what I can offer. It's hard to see it because I didn't present it or run it through a career. Like it's done all these things. So I kind of need my website to offer that. Some portfolio pieces that show, okay, here's the band I was in. Here's the festival I put out. You know what I mean? And then the memoir can sort of accompany that. Now I've been going through this, and at my first band that broke me was Donova, metal band, 70s style metal, throwback band when that was becoming super hipster.
More like Black Sabbath or more like Led Zeppelin?
Like Black Sabbath, more Maiden and Sabbath kind of vibe.
Okay.
I jumped in on a Hawkwind tribute Halloween set, and then they brought me on tour opening for Glass Candy in the Chromatics, very like synth retro synth pop super hipster shit, man. But then I got into free jazz, and I studied music at school for a year, and I did percussion and piano there, and drums. So free jazz is what I've just put out something that I recorded in 2017 called OHS. That's out now on Bandcamp. 3 volumes of that. I got 2 of them out. Nice. And so I kind of like, and lately I've just been putting on headphones with a diverse playlist of songs to learn, included anything from Sade to Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
Cherish the Day has got to be one of the hardest beats in the world.
Actually, I'd probably say, like, what is that? I think Swedish Taboo, or if not that,
No Ordinary Love
has a sexy saxophone riff. And I don't remember it off. It might be that or Your Love is King. I think it's Your Love is King, where there's just a sexy saxophone riff. And that's like Sade's staple, though. Like saxophone.
Or it's guitar on Cherish the Day is just like it's in your spine. That's if you want to put just Sade, if you want some love make music, that's all you need.
I love her. Hey Sade, if you watch this channel, I am free to be married.
He ain't even late, man. He just jumped right into the marriage.
I'm gonna shoot my shot.
She's like
She's
60 now.
she still look young. Look, stop.
He's like, he doesn't care. She's got money. She tears his ass up.
Oh shoot! I
Want me to do the
gotta
dishes,
check
babe?
how old
I got
Chad
you.
is now.
I got you. Throw a little elbow grease on them dishes.
How old is Sade now? I gotta see now.
So, what brought you to music?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, my first memory was I think of La Bamba as my first like time I would just rocked out like crazy.
Nice.
La Bamba. I don't know. I'm and and then I think we got like MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice tapes, and then but then I remember jumping on the trampoline age like 9 or 10 with some friends, and Nirvana's Nevermind. His older brother had it and he put it on, and we called it trampoline music. And I said, Mom, I got
yes. That's what it is. Just jump around music. It's like power chords and nothing else. Like it's just.
Right.
But I said, we got to go out and I got to go get Nirvana, and then it was on after that. Pearl Jam. I mean, this was a great time to get into rock.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember in '93 watching the VMAs, and Pearl Jam just played 5 Against 1,
Mm-hmm.
and then which crushed. Like for that moment, that song was so fucking different. It just came out. It was like, whoa. And then they followed up. Neil Young comes out and they did Rockin' in the Free World, and it was just an epic 15 minutes of pure rock and music.
Mm-hmm.
MTV can't even get close to anything like that today.
No. Did you see
No, they're
Neil
too busy
Young
doing like reality shows instead of music. It's not even music television anymore.
Right,
It's like
no.
the real
Without
world.
a commercial
redux.
break, 2 songs back to back, a jammer, long solos, and just watching them
Right.
do feedback for a minute. You don't
right.
do that.
Yeah. Did
No,
you
that
see?
and the Unplugged with where they had like Babyface and Jodeci and like all those were two of like the most incredible. Anyway, go ahead, Marcus.
No, I was going to say, did you see Neil Young play with Led Zeppelin on, I think it was MTV Music Awards, like it might have been 93, something like that. But it is epic. What's so funny about it is you see like Robert Plant is right there beside Neil Young, and Neil Young is just fucking going crazy on his guitar. You know how he does, just gets lost in it. And fucking you see Robert Plant like reaches over and like taps him on the shoulder, like, all right, dude, we're done playing. Stop. But epic.
Yeah.
You're right. That time frame musically,
Freedom.
oh my God. Yes, it was the shit. And it didn't matter what kind of music you're talking about, whether you're talking about, because in that same kind of era, you've got Snoop rising, you've got Tupac rising, you have, some hardcore good metal, Metallica in their fucking prime.
A lot of good stuff.
Dude,
What the fuck happened to music?
I went to a Pumpkins concert.
The music industry happened to music.
Radiohead is very good too. I was just thinking about free jazz versus democracy jazz.
Is there such a thing as democracy jazz?
Well, I mean,
or is that like you just making a joke?
It's a joke, but like
okay.
Specifically with the guys like that I play with, the OHS thing that's up on my website now. The bass player can't play jazz. He doesn't know how to play he doesn't even really understand how to play a bass. But he was a visual artist, graphic designer, and he just is,
mathematician sort of playing from the math side more than the art side.
No, purely from the art side. Like no, music is like mechanics. It is a technical. You're a technician, and you're operating an interface, and you're doing it with the precision of a fucking computer. It's incredible. A real musician. But this friend, Jerry Soga, who's I'm talking about, versus Doug Haining, who's more of a technician, who's also in that trio, and I'm kind of in between. But Jerry can't even really play. But I love playing with him because he's so free and he doesn't do anything that you'd expect. And he's always fucking with you. So you're always like losing your grip on what you were playing. And then it sounds awful to a lot of people, but to me it sounds like pure freedom. And if it was democracy, we'd all have to vote on like, oh, what do you want to do? Well, let's play let's play Thelonious Monk. But Jerry can't play Thelonious Monk. Well, fuck it, he's gonna do it anyway. No, you know what I mean?
That's jazz. That's how jazz
That's
works,
funny.
though.
Well,
That-
that's music though. That's music in an
Once
entirety.
if everybody enters into a form where they know they're going to play jazz head arrangements, then yeah, everybody's fair game. They have to do it. But pure free jazz is like these players might have absolutely no training on their instrument, so you can't expect them to do anything. So therefore, democracy doesn't work in this situation. It has to be pure cooperation. Pure
Nice.
cooperation. That's one reason.
Love
I love it. It's
That's
pure
actually really cool. It's a cool
Yeah.
metaphor for this whole conversation too. I do have to say, like, so I'm pretty sure they probably planned this. They probably played it before, but I don't know how much they rehearsed the transitions and everything, and how technically like in tune with each other they were, so much as like they were just vibing. But I went to see Smashing Pumpkins at the Sanger in New Orleans, and they went from, I think they started with Today, went into Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and ended it in Drown without stopping. Like it was just like
medley.
they just
Medley.
merged they just merged the whole medley together of these three songs that are like completely like Today is like its own thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of this happy thing. Drown is like a very like cerebral, like just kind of chill, like, you know, damn near go to sleep. I don't do drugs, but like I would imagine like that's probably like, anyway, it gave me that sort of sense of like I just kind of just sit back and chill while other people were doing stuff. Anyway, but like Somewhere Over the Rainbow was just like, but the way that they did it, it was off the chain, bro, and it was live. Like
But
it was wild.
I bet you that was very, very precisely constructed. Billy Corgan is not. one
Yeah,
of the-
I'm assuming it was, because it was very well executed too. Like
Yeah.
it was, but there was still like this. There was this sense of like you could see the way that they were emoting on stage and everything. That they were just kind of like I think they probably could have done it in their sleep. The way that they were
They're very
into
good.
each other as a band.
Yeah.
But you're right about the technical side of music. I mean, most people miss that like the modern concept of music really comes from Pythagoras, and you know, mapping out the tones, which are all vibrations of the universe. The what music really is for a spiritual person, who a lot of my spirituality has influence because I drum through music, but this is the vibrations of the universe. When you are playing any kind of music, it doesn't matter if it's the most complicated classical piece down to the most, you know, twangy fucking country music that is just, you know, the same bass line, boom 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 forever. It doesn't matter. You are evoking the universe into your life, and that is a powerful thing. That is a wonderful thing.
Bringing it back to Andrew Wood and Mother Love Bone, like Man of Golden Words is a beautiful song that we actually, like, when we were in college, my wife wrote this. We were just like friends. We weren't even dating yet at this point, but she wrote a paper about that song, about how like music is like this universal language that like speaks to your soul.
Hey, y'all want to know
on a
something
completely
else?
different level. Yeah, go ahead.
That speaks to my soul. $5,
shit, here we go.
everybody. $5 is what speaks to my soul. I'm just kidding. Look, I love everybody who's in the chat who's going to watch this video, and appreciate you, Sean, for showing up. But one thing that we always come back to is the root of all evil, to a degree, which is money. And we kind of like money, unfortunately, but fortunately we like enough money to ask you guys for the money so that we can continue working on the things that we're working on, which is the podcast thingy. And we give you guys things that are like gems. We give you gems. We love to give you gems. We give it away for free. We're not really rich people, but we're rich enough from the mental to drop these little gems. So if you hit that subscribe button or hit that like, really just like it and hit shares, like throw the share us out, because you can, like, I will shut up as soon as we get to 1,000 like subscribers, and then y'all don't got to hear shit from me. Y'all gonna hear me still because y'all pull up, but the point being is that the $5 that you would love to share with us, because communities start with everything and everything is nothing. Okay, let me stop. The point being is that I would appreciate, Marcus would appreciate, Chad, even Sean would appreciate it if you threw $5, and not in the air, because you're gonna catch it. I'm talking about towards us. And we not your strippers either. Throw it in the you can join the Patreon, the Telegram. We most definitely got some brilliant individuals in there on top of let's see. Oh, we're like building a community in there. So like when everything is like kapooey, we're still together. Like we're forming a community. This is not pointless.
Yeah.
We don't ask you $5 to be pointless. And it could go for my gas tank, but that point being is that you guys are helping us build something that's so much bigger than what we are by asking for $5 and joining us in the communication and conversation so that we can build more together.
A lot of stuff offline that we're building together for sure. Yep.
Also want to mention that if anybody just wants to float us some money, Cash App for all 3 of the Aquarian Anarchy members or for the Aquarian Anarchy hosts is down below. We would appreciate that as well until we can get to that 1,000 subscribers. And the reason we're trying to get to 1,000 is because then we can have super chats. And so that's what we're building towards.
And we could hear you guys and your opinions, and not just opinions, but your gems as well. And we take it and we add more to it. Like we want to hear you guys. Like it's not just because
Sorry, Chad.
That's facts. That's facts. Both of those are facts.
Yes.
Damn. I lost my
so I want to ask Sean.
Wait, I wanted to ask Nico.
Oh, good. Oh, go ahead.
Are we moving on from music? Because Because I was thinking of something that's an interesting point, a decentralized point, as a matter of fact.
Okay. All right.
What we were getting nostalgic on, us old timers over here, was mass media events. Before we had the kind of systems that we have now, which I highly favor. I want, rather than 5 media outlets, I want 5,000. And rather than 5 million viewers across each one, I want 50,000 or whatever, right? And I aspire to having a podcast again and having like 1,000 followers. To me, that'd be amazing. That'd be perfect. I don't want more than that. I mean, steady followers paying, But Nico's coming up in this moment. So the idea of a mass media star. We don't have a lot of them. There are stars, but I don't see a Snoop Dogg now that's young. I don't see a Dr. Dre that's young. I don't see a Kurt Cobain that's young. I don't see Whitney Houston or I'm naming all those stars from that time that were Brad Pitt is one of our last movie stars. Leonardo DiCaprio. We don't have very many of these people who are truly that didn't come from the legacy time.
You're right.
So Nico, what's it like for you? The music that you get into, how do you discover it? Why do you get into it? Are you influenced by influencers or whatever? How does it work?
I got you. So when I first started out, and this is my music journey, I didn't listen to a lot of music when I was much younger because my household, it was chaotic. We did listen to rap at my aunt's house. My recollection was just the mainstream rap at the time. So that's early 2000s. And 90s as well. But then when I moved basically with my mom and got my first iPod, basically all she had was just rap. So she had Biggie and but my mom is a heavy jazz head. Actually, I lied. My introduction to music was actually through jazz when my mom would be dropping my brother and I off to school. Then it trickled over
jazz radio, by the way.
Jazz radio. Smooth jazz,
smooth jazz.
My mom would always try.
It's like down low on the dial too. It's like in the 87 to 93 range.
All the community networks are down there.
Yes, exactly.
So
where I hang out,
some high schools running the channel or something.
So, then like my biggest influencer, I guess, would be like on music would be my mom. So it was rap, and my father's Haitian, so when I was experiencing other music, it'd be at like a Haitian party, and we'd listen to compa, and a few Afro beats, and a little bit of it's not compa. I'm not gonna go down that. I don't know it. So then I had a diversity change, and like, okay, well, this is like different. The rhythm, how they play it, the music, the language, and all that fun stuff. It was always upbeat. Then when I got into a little bit older, my boy put me on with Eminem, and I was just a huge rap fanatic. My boy put me on Eminem, and I did a lot of underground music via SoundCloud. Which album? what year? I
What
think
was
it
the
was
first
just. I think it was Marshall Mathers LP, his first
The
LP.
first one?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started to divulge in his discography. Then I was privy to Chicago artists. So then
So these are big stars, though. So you are coming up in a time when it's still the legacy media.
yeah,
system.
yeah.
Yeah. At least
So
the
yeah,
influence.
a lot of my influences were kindred around legacy, but it's also underground as well. My cousin put me on it. Yeah, basically, yeah, you could say legacy. Individuals were my biggest influences when it came to music.
Well, I was just mostly interested in the connection to the media and stuff like that. But it's cool that you were influenced by your mom like that and
Yeah,
traditional
but I
music in your community.
but I also think you see that in Black community more than you see in white community too. You see the connection to culture. I think it's something that is really strong amongst the Black community. Is you get that influence. You find, today I watched watching Ray Charles and who's the guy that played Ray Charles? I can't think of his name right
Jamie
now.
Foxx.
Jamie Foxx. Like I watched the video of when they basically got together and he was kind of trying to become the actor who played Ray Charles, and watched them come together, and you could see that Jamie Foxx is like, oh my God, this is Ray fucking Charles, and he just gave me a hug. You could see that influence, and you get that. I'm not saying that us white people don't get that, because we do sometimes, but not like the Black community. That cultural influence is it just.
Damn, you made Nicco leave.
I know I got rid of the Black guy, but I do think that is something that is that from a white person. I want to see that influence coming into my children's life.
It's weird though, because it's like when I think of like Black communities, like I guess in the 70s, 60s, they were like really, really close together when it came. Music was like there. Music was something that was a glue that always brought them together. When I think of a family, a white family in like the 60s and 70s, yeah, you guys went down and like got down to the clubs and all that, but like I would usually see you guys, like I would picture you guys sitting at a dinner table. like I would see you guys sitting at a dinner table talking about life lessons and things of that nature. Well, Black people came together and they're always moving. It was a stationary thought that I would always attribute to Black people, that I wouldn't attribute to Black people, was the movement.
I mean, yeah, these are unfortunate stereotypes from modern times.
For sure.
Yeah. We've really been everything culturally is so tied up right now. I'm far more concerned with dealing with cultural and social issues than trying to solve things at the government level.
For sure.
It's like, the same thing with, there are cleaner creeks and cleaner parks in this city, and they tend to be higher income. And it's I don't know why people relate to their own neighborhood in a trashy way who don't have money.
Because they've been taught to.
Yeah. Because look, you got.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that in the music. I see that it's celebrated in the pop music. I mean, Kurt Cobain was somebody who died supposedly because he was junked out and supposedly killed himself, which I don't believe. But but he
Courtney a hoe. That's all I gotta say.
Right now in Philly, the people who I see wearing Nirvana t-shirts, especially the one with the yellow face and the fucked up smiley face, he's all junked out smiley face, is Black women, and mostly Black women below under 20, like around 20.
My age group.
Yeah, your age group. That's who I see wearing these Nirvana t-shirts these days.
Yeah, and there's white kids wearing Wu-Tang shirts now.
Right.
They have them at Walmart.
I know.
You can get all the old throwbacks like Kiss.
Too bad.
Man, I found a great. I found a Grateful Dead t-shirt at Old Navy. At fucking Old Navy.
Yeah, there
There's
you go.
any band that is not Old Navy. It
But
is
What's
the
kind of
Grateful
like
Dead.
the thing I said about how like all the beatnik anti-war activists work at the Pentagon now.
Right.
Like it's this
Yeah,
weird thing where like everything has been sold out to
bizarre.
corporate America.
But like the influence of drugs, the idea of the image of drugs has really been drilled through kids' heads for a long time through music, and I'm concerned about that a lot. At first, a lot of that was way back in the jazz era. But a lot of people were addicted after the war. Then through Kurt Cobain and that time, and then now through trap music and stuff. So it's like, and then you teach.
Well, it's not just that. Even in the
messages,
popular stuff, it's Xannies and it's all the other stuff. It's like the over the counter, or not over the counter, but the prescription meds,
right?
The high end shit that's not right pharmaceutical shit. Yeah,
it's
so anyway,
dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah,
I think we have a lot. I mean, I don't want to sound like a square, and I didn't think I would. That I'd be. I still think I'm fucking cool, man. Like I know what the cool music is, but you know what?
But it's not cool.
I also
to give your
don't.
life over to a fucking substance.
It's a mistake.
That's not cool.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Like I was thinking about Lenny. I want to find some Lenny Bruce quotes for you, Marcus, to cut up.
I like Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, he's a real anarchist.
For sure, and Carlin was too.
What did he say? What was I about to say that he said? My brain is starting to go. What?
Sorry.
Lenny Bruce?
Yeah, what did he say? I forgot what he said. Shit. I lost that.
You were just talking about how it's dangerous, all this stuff with the kids and everything.
Yes. Free speech is under attack, right? Well, I don't think we need to, I don't want to censor anybody, but I think it's dangerous for the culture we're celebrating. That's all. But like with Lenny Bruce, he got busted for the words that he chose to use on stage in a technical way, but it was mostly for his ideas. But what they were busting him on was purient interest. What they were trying to corner him in legally was that his act appealed to purient interest. Well, what I'm seeing today is that the free speech that all that we have left is purient interest, and the rest is being censored.
It's so awesome that you said that, because like as you're going through that, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, the
purient
issue
interest
right now
is sex, by the way, for people who don't know that.
Yes,
legal definition.
The interesting thing is that I did the media law stuff and everything when I went, because my degree's in broadcasting, but the flip that has happened, where we've gone from Tipper Gore wanting to make sure that the explicit lyrics sticker is on all the Two Live Crew shit.
Yeah, which was everything that I wanted to buy. If it had that sticker on,
right, exactly. No, and look, don't think for one second that shit wasn't part of the plan either.
Yes,
right. Like that's part of the plan too.
Onyx. I think Onyx's album was that sticker.
Yes, tell rebellious teenagers, hey, this stuff is illegal, and they'll be like, cool, where can I find it?
Right.
And so, but now what's interesting, because we talked with Michael Heiss last week, and I've been having this thing, because when I had the conversation with him a week and a half ago before he came on the show, is there seems to be like this thing in like libertarian circles, in libertarian culture, that is, if you aren't okay with a bunch of people coming and having an orgy on your front lawn, then you're a bigot and you are not a libertarian. And I'm like, no, like I can tell you that like it's a terrible tragedy when a woman aborts her own child. Yeah. And I can also say that the state should really not be involved, because it's probably not they're gonna fuck it all up. And the best way for us to approach that is by offering and being allowed to offer, without being ostracized for offering positive alternatives, and offering people like, hey, look, we're gonna offer you a chance to see a sonogram. We're gonna offer you a chance to, like, we have people lined up ready to adopt, whatever, all these different, there's so many different ways to solve so many of these problems in a more voluntary, and I don't mean voluntary in the sense of like it has to all be volunteer work. I'm just saying, like, there's no force, fraud, or coercion involved. that I choose to be a part of this and to transact in a certain way rather than being forced to give money to something that I don't agree with. Like, for instance, I have to pay taxes. Oh, what about the roads? Can I just pay for the roads and not pay to bomb Yemen?
Right.
Right.
I don't get that choice.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, that's where like some of this free speech stuff is like, yeah, it should be okay, even in libertarian circles, where when you go to a convention or any kind of get together, there's like 75 people outside whenever there's a break smoking weed together. To be able to say in those circles, hey, you know what? It's probably not a good idea if kids are getting their hands on heroin really easily.
That's
and not get called an asshole for saying that. You know, like that would be really cool.
No, that is the confusion most people have with the term anarchy or even libertarian. I think understandably libertarian gets a bad rap because it gets in some cases a real rap. There's a number of people in the libertarian world that really want to leverage the state to boost their corporations they want so much freedom for their corporations with no recourse. To me, a true libertarian understands that if they are a polluting company, they have to deal with that pollution. If they are if they want to fuck on their lawn, they have to deal with the fact that offends their neighbor and is not acceptable community behavior. So there are these issues that
and the neighbor can put a sign in their own yard that says, like, I can put a sign in my yard that says, hey, you're a fucking asshole for fucking on my lawn, and you know, or even out in front of my kids.
Has this been happening? Lawn. You really have
no, but I'm just saying, like, there's this weird thing where it's like, hey, you don't like, for instance, we have this, so that Marcus was there in New Orleans. We had the convention, the national convention, and there was a particular caucus that there are different caucuses. I don't know how to say that because it's like octopus, but anyway, it's you have different groups, right, within a political party, and they have their own voting agendas for how they want certain measures to go, or certain elections or anything like that. And so they'll walk around and they'll be like holding up a thing, and it'll be like a big thumbs up, or they'll go around and they'll tell everybody, you know, like whatever, you know, hold up a sign of who they want them to vote for a particular office. Okay. Well, there was one particular caucus. Was it the Audacious or the Radical? I can't remember which one is Audacious, right?
Dildo.
They had a double-sided dildo with a blue condom on one end and a red condom on the other end. And when they held up the blue, that was vote for this. And when they held up the red, that was vote against it. You know, it's like that sort of thing. And it's like, you know, Marcus's daughter was there. She was like 9. You know, like at a certain point, reading the room and being respectful of other people is also part of liberty. There's a responsibility that you have to not be an asshole just because you're free to be an asshole.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always part of it. And if you really want to be free to be an asshole, you also have to accept the idea that somebody's free to punch you in the face.
It's ready to eat for everybody. Everybody can get ass whoopings.
Yeah. I prefer to like talk to them and tell them that they're being an asshole.
Yeah. But most people would do that.
There are some instances where things escalate and
they feel offended.
Get thrown.
I mean, the threat of street justice is real. It's more real in some places than others, but
and how is that different than the cops roaming around and beating the shit out of somebody because they smoked a joint?
Hey, my badge is shiny. Different? My badge is shiny. Yours is not. Let's leave it at that.
Right. The worries that people have about not having the police force, if you will, a forceful government police force, that is a gang enforcing their rules on your community. Now, sometimes my police force in my community, they don't fuck with me. They're good enough. I live in a little town. I wouldn't be able to do the kind of shit that I live my life doing in Indianapolis. And I don't hurt nobody. So we need to stop forgetting that these are just criminals with guns that happen to have power. That's it.
Yeah, we have a lot of problems with the way that things are constructed. It's rotten to the core. I believe decentralization is
We agree.
is what's happening now anyway. Quite naturally, Bitcoin is a symbol for it. It's like an energy. It's like an intention that people are getting behind in a massive way. More and more people.
It's on sale right now, so go get
It's on sale.
it.
Although
it's continue to go on sale.
It's on sale, but it's still 4x where I was a year and a half ago. So fucking hey, come on.
Yeah.
I'll keep buying. I wish I had more money. I'm not.
Same.
I was expecting it to hit 100K, man. I was going to do a whole.
It will hit 100K.
It will. But I had a scheme
after this year.
Sell and rebuy it.
Well, one of the things with Bitcoin that people miss is look at the patterns. Just type in Bitcoin in a search. Go look at the bump that first time that Bitcoin went through the roof. That is just a little blip now. But that first one there was.
I used to stare at that.
Right.
When it went to like 19K in 17.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It goes, if you follow it, it goes like this. Boom, boom. And then it comes way down and levels out. And look at what just happened. It goes boom, boom, comes down and will level out. Right. We're going to have another one.
Yeah.
That is going to go over 100K. This is my prediction. I'd say that it's going to happen in about a year to a year and a half.
When's the next halving? Because that's
I don't know when it is. That's when it is.
3 years. No, another 3 years.
Yeah. I still think it's going to hit 100K by March of 2023.
I'm hearing a lot in the community that nobody believes the 4-year cycle, the halvening cycles, are going to be meaningful the way they used to be.
I agree.
If you look at the supply anyway, where we are on the chart. We're down to we're squeezing out the last drops of the fruit.
You never because it's asymptotic. You're never gonna squeeze because it keeps getting harder and harder. So like
we're already down to the last few million. We're just
right. But those last few million are gonna take. It's gonna take like 4 years. Going to take 4 years to get to like we're still going to have a few million. Like it's not like it keeps getting cut in half. It's decelerating how quickly we're approaching that 21 million.
If the network survives all the way to the end of those 21 million, it's supposed to be another 100 years.
Why do you say if? Why do you say if it survives?
Who knows? I mean, we need you have to have computers that run it. You have to have networks that connect those computers. Then you need the ability for those people to communicate and keep maintaining their network. All of civilization has to maintain itself, and for another 100 years without any substantial hiccups.
Yeah, and they're trying real hard to destroy civilization right now. So
as well as Bitcoin, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but they're not. I don't think they're trying to destroy Bitcoin. I buy into the idea that Bitcoin is controlled. And I buy into that it is government controlling, and it will be a step to a digital currency that will be absolutely controlled by government. Okay, I buy that. I understand that. I've seen the arguments, and I think they may very well be right. That doesn't mean I can't profit like a motherfucker and get enough money while writing that thing. If I had bought the fucking PF thing last January, I would be so fucking rich right now.
Yeah.
And they're evil as shit.
Yeah.
PF?
Not so much anymore because all that stuff tanked this week.
Right.
Well, I mean, the surge was, we knew exactly what was going to happen. But I mean, knowing that the medical industry was about to make a massive come up, we all could have been some evil bastards that, hey, y'all want to throw like 250 towards this? And then,
you didn't even have to. You at that time at the bottom of the market, right at COVID, you could double, quadruple.
You could have bought anything.
Yeah, I mean, I bought Ford around $5. It's at like 20 now. It's coming up on. It's going to hit 30. Yeah, I mean, and there's opportunities right now.
There's always opportunities. Especially
I will say this though. Like,
I try not to. I follow this 2-story rule. I try to anyway. Like, there has to be a reason I like the company, and then some other aspect Otherwise, I'm just buying whatever. And
Right.
if one of the stories is they're forcing dangerous medicine on people, coercing
Yeah.
people, I can't
Sure.
invest in you. I can't
Right,
invest in
right.
that.
I agree. I'm just
I'm not
saying.
cold-hearted enough for. I'm not
Well,
ruthless enough.
that's where I go back to what Vin Armani, well, Cyprian now, formerly Vin Armani, said on when he was on that Bitcoin conversation with Hood of Jesus a few weeks back. Was they were talking about how they could have made so much money on like NFTs and on some of this other stuff
Mhm.
with like just like basically like swindling people out of this like pyramid scheme type stuff and everything. And he said, that's not how I want to interact with the world. Or they said that's not how I want to interact with humanity.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so like on a certain level, like you have to like, because like what we were talking about last week with Michael Heiss and what I wrote an article about it this week about the 7 deadly sins. Like
It's excellent.
it really matters when you come to whatever you come to, that you do it the right way. Otherwise, what makes you any different from Bill Gates or any of these other people? Like, what are you're gonna? Oh, I'm fighting against them. I'm gonna get okay. You're gonna become them to fight them. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean?
And you know,
Guys, I've got to take a second. I
Oh.
have to use the restroom. I just have to.
So Voodoo Santa Claus drank too much.
Right, I did. I've been drinking a shit ton of water.
you got to get
Anyway,
a kit.
go ahead,
You
Sean.
gotta get a
I'll
kit
see you guys
under
in a
the
moment.
desk. A piss kit.
Yeah, we just got to come on air with a catheter or something.
Ew.
Anyway, go ahead.
Oh.
You were going to say something, Sean.
I was just gonna say. I mean, you're gambling more so. I mean, it's in a way, it's all gambling, but I definitely feel like Bitcoin is a sure thing, and it's here to stay. Almost as much as I do gold, but I'm the kind of guy I want to hold physical gold. I want to hold gold ETF. I want to hold Bitcoin, and I want to hold ammo. I want to hold all kinds of things that store value.
Ammo is a great store of value, and it's got
is.
a lot more immediate utility than gold does.
And it goes up in value the worse
Right.
things are.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, I've got my plans for the next. Well, I got
Mhm.
my next 5 years to get my ducks in a row. This year is about property, and that's what it's about this year. But I was gonna just say somebody's gonna be left holding the bag. Right now, I'm, so you can gamble with all that. A lot of gamblers talk about, oh, I won $300 at the lottery today. Yeah, well, how much did you spend the last 3 weeks? Like,
Right.
they're like, yeah, you won 3. People don't like to talk about what they spent before.
They go to the
before
casino and they have a winnings pocket and
So,
an ATM pocket.
how many shit coins did you fail on
Right.
before you finally hit one that landed? So I'm at this point, like, if you think Bitcoin is too expensive, which is all a psychological trick. I think when the Satoshi, people love cute memes. Satoshi is going to be the cutest meme. It's going to beat Doge for cuteness. The Satoshi character that they're going to come up with is going to drive that son of a bitch to a penny. A Satoshi, when it's worth a penny, then you're going to be happy you bought your Bitcoin. But anyway, so that's the trick up Bitcoin sleeve. Litecoin, though, I think is the intriguing one. You can buy a Litecoin right now, cheap. I really believe in Litecoin. And I went into the Reddit there. I just asked them, why should I believe in Litecoin in the same way that I believe in Bitcoin? I asked this question, and they gave me answers. And what I learned there is that it's built just like Bitcoin. It's one of the original forks of Bitcoin. It has a fixed supply like Bitcoin. It has the decentralized systems, networks. It's extremely powerful. I think those are the two that I feel safe in.
$112 a coin right now.
Yeah, you can own a Litecoin. There's a point where 48 million people, more than that, are going to want a Litecoin,
True.
So what do you think of Monero?
And that's how many Litecoins there are.
Yeah.
Will be eventually.
Right.
Monero, I don't know. I don't get too geeky on the crypto. I got into it a little bit in the beginning, and then I got overwhelmed, and I said, man, I'm going to just wait for the crypto-apocalypse. I think that they're going to fall apart. And the ones that are going to be left are like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and a few others. ETH might even fall apart. If ETH falls apart,
there will be a lot of.
There's too much of Ethereum in the NFT space, and I actually think that that's going to be a legitimate thing. I just can't I can't.
I don't
mess with
think
it 'cause
its
it's
value might
too much.
fall. Its
Yeah.
value might not come up because as a coin,
Mm.
see, the thing is, Bitcoin is for sure money. Litecoin is for sure money.
Mhm.
Ethereum seems to be more of a system, more of a
Oh
infrastructure.
yeah.
What I-
Backbone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What
so
I find about Monero is it's more of a philosophy. Daryl, I think it was, put me on to a couple videos about Monero, and shout out to Daryl from our chat. But and I watched it because I've been interested in Monero because it is a privacy coin, because I like to keep my money secret, and so I got into, and it really is. It's what Bitcoin was marketed to be. It's untraceable for the most part. It is it's private. Nobody's going to know that you've got it, including the government or anybody else. But it's very difficult to buy here because of that.
Son of a bitch.
so
Nico's light went out.
Yeah.
I actually think that Monero may actually be the future of, or at least something
I don't
similar to Monero, to crypto, or of crypto.
I just wanted to throw this.
Is he
up there.
talking
Hold on,
about
wait.
the market cap? I don't think the word cheap applies just because the price is lower. The supply times price or market cap is a better measure. Yeah,
Yeah.
if we're talking about Litecoin, it's an incredible deal right now.
Mm.
Monero, I don't know, like in terms of investment, some of these I just would want to use strictly for. Suppose I had Bitcoin and I didn't want to trace it. I didn't want to spend it in a traceable way, and somebody accepted Monero. Might be a great way to convert over to Monero and then spend the Monero.
And that's how you have to do it. You can't go, like you. My understanding, I don't own any Monero yet. I'm looking into it, but my understanding is, in the United States, you can't go buy Monero like outright. You have to have Bitcoin and buy Monero with Bitcoin.
Well, probably with Tether, maybe, or something.
I don't know.
Often
enough yet.
Tether is the one, but the idea of like a lot of these just being immediate exchange tokens rather than investment, vehicles, and I think that there has been a lot of talk about Bitcoin coming. I think the government can put something out and hope they can control it, and sometimes the genie gets out of the bottle. And I wonder if Bitcoin was something like that for them.
It might have been. And I think that, but I think they're going to wrap this back in. I mean, announcements this week about a Fed coin coming out and those kinds of things. I really think that the government, people, even though people would associate, I hope, with myself that I think government's stupid. I think that government doesn't do anything well, all of that stuff. But a lot of people in government are not stupid. And I think
the puppet masters are definitely not stupid.
Yeah, they're not
stupid. The puppets that they choose are stupid. That's why they choose them as puppets.
Correct.
They allow them to do their little fuck-uppery.
And Joe Biden is not an idiot. He's demented now. That's his problem now.
I think he's an idiot on purpose.
But I don't think these people are very clever. They're not idiots.
Yeah. Right.
My opinion about Joe Biden,
strong. They manage to. I mean, they're weak in many ways, but they have enough ruthlessness, fortitude to get where they are. I respect the fact of where they are. You know what I mean?
They just straight gangsters.
They know how to play the game.
They are criminals.
Straight gangsters.
And my opinion about Joe Biden is pretty simple. It is that he is an idiot on purpose. There is no question that they see this country, and with all of its faults, with all of its flaws, it's still much better than a shit ton of places everywhere else. What they're doing, and I personally believe he is a puppet of the Chinese government and frankly of the globalists that we would put in Europe, those Rothschild kind of people.
Watch it now.
I'm
we
trying.
Don't know. There's no. I don't even know who Marcus talking about. These people don't exist.
Nope. So, but I think what they're doing is they are trying to take down the United States, and they want that Constitution. I don't believe I'm with Lysander Spooner. I think that it is a purposeless document at this point, but they want that thought that we have some kind of free country gone. And how you do that is you get our leader to be a complete and total buffoon so that it causes a revolution that they can control. And by controlling that revolution, they take down any semblance of freedom that this country has ever thought it had. And they replace it with a probably a military dictatorship, not socialism. They're not going to get communism. They're not going to get all that, because those systems require that they at least give a surface idea that we're being taken care of. With a dictatorship, they don't have that problem. So they take it down, and then they can have their three countries, their three powers, China, Russia, and the West, controlling the rest of the world. And they want to throw us into chaos. They want us to fight each other. They want us to be violent. They want us to attack everything that is ourselves. And once they have achieved that, they can rush in, and because it will be the Western powers that largely from Europe that are going to rush in and be a savior and rescue us from that and completely and totally control us, throw away any semblance of what we might have thought was freedom. So that's what I think Joe Biden's purpose is. The problem,
that's what I think seceding California would do.
I disagree. I don't want to get back into that conversation, but I disagree. But
okay. All right.
But at the end of the fucking day, if they manage to get that done, I said this last week and I mean it. Rothbard talked about Ronald Reagan being the worst thing that ever happened to the libertarian movement, and the reason is because he instilled the faith in government back in to people. They, you can say what you want. During the 80s, shit worked all right.
That's what Joe DeSantis is going to be. Watch.
I think you're right. I hate that, but I think you're right.
That's what DeSantis is going to be. I
agree. But Joe Biden, and I also think that DeSantis might be what we're looking for as a beast. I really worry about him. I think he's going to be a problem. But anyway, back to Biden. I don't
trust any of them.
No, I don't either. But I think that Biden is projecting weakness, and he is projecting how awful the government is, and people are picking up on that. So we're not going to get 10% of the population because of Biden that is anarchist, but we're going to get a bump. And we're going to get a significant one. And once you go anarchist, you very seldom go back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, yeah, I never fully. I don't know if you could fully call me that. I still go like I'm in that. I like that you just have a spectrum. It's the anarch spectrum. Yeah. I don't, whatever the system is, I don't want it to rule over me. And as long as we all agree on that, I think we're going to tend to defend similar principles and things in life. And
that's all that matters, is as long as you can have a group of individuals who are conscious that, hey, my values are about growth and freedom. I don't care how you plant you plant your poppy seeds, but look, as long as you learned how to plant them, cool, you can do that on your side. If you want to really learn how to grow something, you can come over here, but I'm not going to force you. It's the idea of us being able, I'll let you do you and you let me do me, and that's super fine. As long as that's instilled into people and everybody learns to get out of somebody else's life and not worry about too much of somebody. I mean, we worry about people, yes, but we worry about ourselves as well. So as long as you've projected that I am doing the best to take care of me, and you see that, so therefore we're not going to really argue about trivial matters.
Hopefully not. I mean, it's civil libertarian is a term I was just thinking of, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just wanted to drop that. That's a term. Civil libertarian. It used to be a very left position. It
Yep.
still is a left position. It's
No,
not.
it's not. They're an obey.
Yeah, I was
position.
gonna
It's
say,
not
the
a Democrat. It's not a
the
Democrat
ACLU is like, make these people take their medicine.
Right.
You
It's
know,
not a
it's like,
Democrat position. It's not
Sure.
a woke position necessarily, but it is still a Glenn Greenwald left sort of.
Bill Maher.
It's still that territory which I still feel like I occupy a lot.
So do I.
I occupy the Occupy space. I was an Occupy guy.
Yeah.
I don't try to protest much, but sometimes things come around and I feel like inspired to participate. The first round of Black Lives Matter protests, for sure, I was out there. Second round, I was like, there's something wrong with this one. This is first one felt very much more
organic, real.
Yeah. And
I mean, but that's typical. Is that stuff gets co-opted? I think the same thing can be said for like the Tea Party stuff. Like there was a lot of early Tea Party stuff that was legit, and they saw it and they're like, all right, we need to get in there. We need to start co-opting it. What did they start doing? All the Tea Party candidates who were 9/11 truthers, they ran them out and didn't let them challenge the establishment Republicans because they didn't want them snooping around once they got into Congress with access to documents and shit like that to find out what the fuck really happened on that day in September. So it was crazy like how some of that stuff happens where like something starts off, and it's very similar to Jonesy and I were talking last week about how like sitcoms and like TV series start off. Like it starts off where it's like it's this thing, and they get you in there, and next thing you know, there's all this other weird shit that they start inserting into it that becomes part of the story, and it's like, why the fuck does this have to be in every story? Like,
Can you
understand.
go in?
Huh?
Can you go in on like a show that just takes a complete flip? Then we can
Absolutely, I can
quickly digest that real quick.
Yeah, I'm a Star Trek guy. Love Star Trek. I've been watching Discovery. Right, the Star Trek Discovery was amazing when it first started. Loved the storyline. It's in like its third or fourth season now. There is no white straight male character. None. Not one. Not a single fucking one. All and all it is special effects. It looks like, you know how Fox News has all that shit in the background when you go on there moving around. That's what the entire fucking shit looks like.
You're not even spending money on special effects or anything.
Right. It's all like shit moving around.
Just their story watching the news all the time.
Right. And their storyline is gone. There is nothing. Yeah. They've got a basic idea that they're going after this weird anomaly. They have destroyed that show with the agenda.
The agenda.
And I like, I agree with equality.
Right.
I agree with all that shit.
Plug there. I see it. I see the plug. Yeah. Love it. But so I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with any people and what they choose to do with their own personal life or anything like that. This is not about that. This is about, imagine if every single show that you watched on TV had to have a Catholic anarchist. Every one of them had to have a Catholic anarchist.
Yeah.
And I had to tell everybody how important being Catholic and being anarchist is.
No, not just a Catholic anarchist, but a Catholic anarchotep.
Yes, right. Catholic anarchotep. Yeah, where's my shirt? Man, I don't want to get spaghetti. Pizza sauce on it. But I got my shirt right here that Marcus made for.
I got you, Chad. I got you, big boy.
I got it right here. Wait, where is it?
Look.
Nice.
You see that? Hey, we got a stove. We got a stove. Come shop.
Yes, very well said, Sean. I appreciate that. But you get what I'm saying. And not only that, I get to
C-Lab 2021.
I get to proselytize to people on the show as part of my role as a character. I'm not even really playing a role. I'm just the person who gets to proselytize to you and make you feel like a piece of shit if you don't endorse everything that I'm about and say that it's awesome and tell me how much you love me. And also, if you say anything negative about me, I get to go to your job and get you fired. Like, this is where we are. It's like a sliver of the population has like this stranglehold over people to be like,
oh, weird.
Nah, we have to be represented disproportionately to everybody else.
Right.
I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, we talked a lot about affirmative action and, and the argument, I never really settled on that argument, and I didn't feel like it was my argument to settle on. Certain things, that principles that I try to follow more now, like mind your business. Some issues are not my issue.
Right.
But yeah, it affects me if I'm say going for a job, and and I'm going up against a number of people, and I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not too concerned about it. It's just,
Yeah.
but I do think that we have now a very weird time where it's like basic affirmative action is one thing, like what we had.
Yeah.
Now, like what the degree of social pressure and coercion surrounding it is a whole different level to it. It's
this isn't even affirmative action. This is like you're taking like a, and when I say a certain group of people, I'm talking about people who like are, as Marcus said, they're just not super straight, because apparently we have these other terms, like you can be straight and you can be like down with like messing around with people who are not who they were originally, like biologically, and it becomes so super straight is you can only super straight means that you're heterosexual, but you're only heterosexual with cis heterosexual people.
This is shit. It's so stupid. I'm sorry.
It's like, but that's what I'm saying is that like that's the sort of stuff that like you watch it, and we were watching. I can't remember what show it was. There was some show that we were watching recently. Maybe it was a friend of mine and I went to see Scream last night. Maybe it was that, but there's a black cop, and it was some show. It wasn't that. It was a show that we were watching. Anyway, point is, the black cop is a gay dude. Like it's got to be a like, and that's the thing is, it's always like the black guy. It's like,
look,
it's same thing with like the Eternals movie.
Eternals.
It's like,
My uncle asked me about that, so he was like, "Hey Nick, you like hero movies?" I was like, "Yeah, I get down and I dabble with Marvel movies." And he was like, "Yeah." So my boy was telling me about. You seen it? I was like, "Yeah, I saw it." He was like, "Okay, what's up with it?" I'm like, "It's an all right movie. I mean, I had my own gripes about it." He was like, "No. I heard that one of the black dudes was gay," and I was like, "Yes, yeah."
Isn't he like the only black dude though?
He's the only black dude.
He's the only black dude.
Only nigga there.
He's the only gay dude.
And like, I was like, I hated how they insinuated it as well. I didn't even want. Look, I'm not anybody who you do you out in this life. Pushing that shit is super stupid. But the point being is that like he was like, "Oh yeah, they made the black dude gay," and I was like, "Yeah," and he's not a lead character, so it's like it's always like something on the side. He was like, "Okay, yeah, I ain't watching that shit." I was like,
since it's on the top, this like similar kind of thing, maybe. Tim Dillon did a thing. I listened to his show.
Yeah, he's funny.
I've never heard of him.
Oh,
he's been on Rogan like a bunch of times.
He's been on Rogan. He brought Alex Jones on Rogan.
Brought Alex Jones on.
Nice.
Yep.
But he was talking about a scene that he said that he even was like contacted to audition for. Did anybody see this Sopranos movie? That it's like
I wanted to, but I
haven't yet. I intend
to
watch
haven't
The Sopranos in the first place.
he was okay. So you guys can't settle this one, but apparently there's a character in there, and it couldn't have been Tony Soprano, but apparently there's a main character in there who's reintroduced early on as gay, and then he's like, there's a scene in there.
I mean, that pissed me off. Look, that pissed me off. If I have like privy and have the
and in the show, there was never anything alluding to that. And
granted, back then it was like
grafting it on.
Everybody was straight.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
like, no, go ahead.
Here's my other thing about the Eternals thing. That this is what's weird about that. All right, so these are Eternals. They're not even human.
Nope.
These are like angels. And the angels just also so happen to be like homosexual angels.
Somebody was talking about the Muppet,
and he wants to settle down. He wants to settle down and start a family and have a real life. And like you have to like go through all this other extra stuff to do. Like it's just very bizarre and like very like pigeonholed. Like it has to be like very, very intricately woven in.
I don't think everybody needs to understand the media. Everybody should understand the media better. You can't really. I don't think you can have an argument or a perspective on it if you haven't taken in the information involved with Century of Self put out by Adam Curtis. If you don't watch that documentary series, fine, but you have to understand Edward Bernays and other stuff going along with that. If you don't read Marshall McLuhan, you really aren't going to understand how your brain and how your sense of reality and your community is connected and created by media, and how
absolutely,
so you got
intentionally. All of this is on purpose,
and and like one of the media deconstruction podcasts that I am involved with on a minute level, but that's what they do on that show. No Agenda. I'm going to talk about it for a little bit because that is actually
do it. Yeah, please. Yeah,
that is like a truly, in a real way, probably the most anarch show there is. They don't use that word. They don't call themselves libertarian. They don't do anything like that. They deconstruct the news. That's what they do. But their system, and what I'd like to do with my podcast in the future is, and I don't want to do it alone. I want to have like a team of people, but
works for us.
They don't even do Patreon. They don't have any paywalls of any kind, no exclusive content whatsoever. Their producers are I produce meetups, and then that turns into a 1-minute audio report that goes on the air. But the meetups also generate community. So they have meetups going all over the world, tying their community together around the world. They don't take any ads. They don't do anything like that. So I think that this could be the future of media for everybody. It takes a long time. We have intermediaries like Patreon, but that's just another tax, right?
Yeah, no, ultimately you need to go to and that's what Hotep Nation has done. Brian has taken that to like his own site with his own, where you don't go through Patreon or any of that stuff, so they're not taking their cut.
I think the Hoteps have a probably and every single Hotep's been told you somebody drops No Agenda in the chat. But
Unk's a big fan, so
they didn't. They were acting like they didn't even know. They didn't even know the show. Last time, I was like,
Unk is a big fan, or not a big fan, but he'll watch agenda-free TV sometimes. It's a completely different.
Speaking of Unk, we probably ought to start moving towards wrapping up.
He's starting right now. But no, Brian had Adam Curry on and everything. So it's but anyway, go ahead, continue.
So see, I think the Hoteps probably are better or as well positioned as that show. Maybe not as maybe they don't have as big an audience or something, but they're about as well positioned to do this kind of community work, this kind of bottoms up based production. And I'm all for that. I'm thinking about that myself. Like, really, we have enough connections, just all the people that we know on Twitter, between just that, to have a whole creative agency.
Factual.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Entirely factual.
Yeah. That's what we're building.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, wait, can I make a complaint real quick? I can't eat candy in peace no more because they decided to change an M&M to a Skittle.
Facts.
It's something that circulated on Twitter, I think a couple of days ago. But like, there's a blue Skittle, and this is a part of the agenda they're pushing. It's a blue Skittle that said, "I'm not a M&M," or it's a blue M&M. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm a Skittle now, and it's like a gay Skittle or a gay M&M, and I'm like, what the fuck?
It's an M&M.
And see, that's what I'm saying. It's like we're even taking like anthropomorphized candy and turning it into something, and that's
it's so weird. Where is that all coming from? It's very strange because it doesn't. If you're just deconstructing media, if you just understand media, it doesn't matter per se where it's coming from. That you might pick up some clues. Understanding the message so you aren't vulnerable to it. That's the bottom line. That's I think what we all need to work on and to help our friends become. But where it's coming from. It's not a state program as far as we know. It could very well be cooked up in
Funded.
some intelligence agency or something, but it's not officially a state program. It's not officially a media program.
But
Where the fuck is this coming from?
Yeah, but even the official state programs are coming from their corporate and banking sponsors.
Correct.
And so when you start thinking about like where we are in terms of the like technology meeting with the human spirit of freedom and how that stuff was on its way to this very interesting and explosive coalescence, that's what this last couple of years has been. It has been a stripping down of that stuff and that's why like so many of the free speech platforms became so much less free speech over the last 5 years.
Yep.
Trump was an excuse for it. The Russia collusion stuff was another excuse for it. Facebook ads that made Trump get elected with fake news and all this, that was another excuse. Like all these different reasons to say like, wait a second, these people are talking to each other and they're believing each other and they're working together, and it might actually like put a dent in us. So let's start stripping this stuff down. And I see with that agenda, with like the Eminem story and all that stuff, and the Eternals thing. That's why I think it's so important that we point out that it seems to be always or nearly always the black male that is portrayed that way. Because
Tyler Perry and all them.
Because if you take the strong black heterosexual male father figure and you deconstruct it and soften it, and then you start to see it, and then it becomes the thing where it's like it's all the males, it's all the father, the cis heterosexual male is the enemy. And I look at it and I think if somebody's coming to bust down the door, I'm not hiding behind like a chick or a dude who thinks he's a chick. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Like, that's not who goes to war and defends the homeland,
right.
And so if you want to weaken somebody's homeland, you start neutering their males.
You take away the defenses.
You turn them into eunuchs, and that's how they become slaves.
At the end of the day, this is all told in the Communist Manifesto. The attack on the family is absolutely part of the agenda, because they're trying to get to a tyrannical state, which communism is one of the versions of that. One of the goals is to take down the family. You have to.
All right. Then it's time to be part of the resistance, ladies. We need to start families. We're gonna get some land together. That's where I'm at. I am totally trying to. That's where I'm at. Like, I don't know. I'm more spiritually inclined these days. To be. I just want a wife. I want to be a good father. And I at some point, unfortunately, went through an abortion, and I didn't have to go through it, but I feel the pain of that now. I feel how I feel bad for that now. And I saw the damage that was done to the woman that I was with at the time too. She didn't see how harmful that would be for her.
Deep, man.
I don't even want to admit that here, but I'm not saying who it was, but it's like, and it wasn't fully my decision, but I think I wasn't in the mindset back then. And I was in Portland. It was a liberal mindset. Like, you're almost heralded for having the courage to abort. So it's like, now I'm like, if I had just been in the fearless mind state, that no doubt, faithful mind state, then I think I would have been ready to go for it. But there's too much ego, too much selfish behavior. But I think it's true. If we're going to resist this shit, we got to do some old school shit. We got to grow our own food. We got to defend ourselves, and we got to take care of our own business and mind our business. That's how we're going to get out of this.
Factual.
Yeah. Well, and
communities do that. And we can do it in a way where we're doing it from far away. We're doing it from we're in solidarity from thousands of miles away doing the same programs, kind of thing. But we, my 2 acres is in the forest, yours 2 acres in the desert, or we're sharing information, and we can do that now, and that's rad.
I'm in the swamp, so no, I'm not
you're
really in
down
a
there.
swamp, but everybody thinks we're in a swamp. But I do want to say this. I think it's really important. I need to point this out because I maybe you already understand this and feel this way, but just in case, I want to leave this for you. It's important to remember that even when there's something like that, a situation like what you described, for whatever reason we may feel culpable in ourselves for what happened, for what we've done in our past, or allowed to happen in our past, or anything like that. You have to also allow yourself some space and some grace and forgiveness or whatever for being a victim of, like, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of incentive, there's a lot of I don't know, the way that people are conditioned to have that focus on the here and now, the immediate, the fear, all those things that go into a situation where, like, when there's a child and you're not sure if you're ready for, like that, all that stuff. That's a very complex matrix to have to try to navigate, and to look back on it with a level of regret. There's nothing wrong with that, but also, make sure that you don't allow yourself to beat yourself up too much about it, because there is so much stuff that goes into that you don't have any control over. You're a victim of.
I'm guilty of that, but I think that I'm with you. You don't have to be. You review, don't obsess. Yeah, you're gonna have to confront these things one time or another. I really believe it. I don't believe you can escape a lifetime without reviewing it. I mean, that's
Sure.
You can't learn if you don't.
Just basically, to pass into the gates of heaven, right? You go through that review. It's the judgment. There's a different word, a different terminology for it, no matter what. But I think the fact is, so if you don't deal with it in your life and let yourself cry, I think my skin it looks good at age almost 40 because I cry. Let it be free, man. Like, don't let any of that baggage, and then it comes out. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think there's so much more strength. We have a real problem right now of looking at tears or going through understanding your insecurities. Insecurity has been at the root of this whole issue of doubt. Nicco and I should have talked more about it today.
Yeah.
But maybe another time.
We are trying to wrap it up, but it's like insecurity, dealing with that is painful, and you're going to cry. You're going to deal with your insecurities. Christian already talked about this a lot. This insecurity is like at the root of so many things. And
I think we found our next topic.
Yeah, we could do a whole hour on that for sure. But like, we do not recognize the strength, the feminine masculine balance. We don't recognize the strength of giving in to those emotions and understanding what's behind them, and then
sacrifice.
Sacrificing those, in a way, sacrificing actually those the past self or whatever it is that's traumatizing there or whatnot. What they call, I don't know.
No, but it's like you are crossing.
Is a full balance.
Yeah. You do cross an initiation. The rite of passage in a way, to get, and it leaves something behind, and it opens up space for something new to grow, for growth, basically.
Somehow, I don't know what it is, because I've intellectually grappled with certain insecurities or traumas or something, but not until I go through the pain, the suffering. And this is why Buddha is my teacher, because he really gets you to embrace suffering. Like, don't worry about it. Don't be afraid of it. It's a part of you. It's 100% a part of you, 24/7, 365. So you might as well understand it. And by understanding it, you will find liberation and God.
Well, Sean, gems, I gotta say. And thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking to us. I've enjoyed this. I think these guys have enjoyed this. I do want to make one comment about the suffering thing. I get Buddha's point. I understand that, but I'm going to add to that a quote by Aleister Crowley, and that is, "Existence is pure joy. All the sorrows are but as shadows. They pass and they are done, but there is that which remains." And the thing that remains is God. And what we need to do ourselves is devote ourselves to the things that are good in our lives. Devote ourselves to our family, to our God, and to our freedom as we move forward. And I am very thankful that you're out there as an ally, brother. And I guess for me,
too.
that's what I'm here to do, is build allies.
We're same here. We're on this journey together. That's something I can agree with Crowley on. I had a great time. I probably agree with him a lot more, but I struggle.
It's all right. Another time.
Talk about that's like his. Oh yeah, there's so much more.
Yeah, another time.
But yeah, it's been great. I've really had a great time talking with all of you guys, and
and have Chad on.
I will have Chad. I'm
you don't have to. I was just messing with you, bro.
well,
it completes the trilogy.
I would love to.
I'm not trying. I was not trying to grift my way on. So it's.
I am. I've been taking a break from the live streams. I only did like 6 or 7. I'm going to do another batch here soon. I also am going to go out on vacation for a couple weeks, so I probably won't do any there.
Right on.
Maybe I'll try to do something in person. I'm going to end up meeting somebody. I won't talk about it now. Somebody, I don't know if you know, Marcus. We'll talk about it after we get off the air. But anyway, it's been great. Nicco, it's been fun talking with you on Twitter too and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we got, like I said, after the show, we'll parlay on some stuff.
Yeah. All right, everybody, go check out Uncle Hotep Factor. Sean, thank you so much for coming on.
SeanOngley.com.
What's that?
SeanOngley.com.
SeanOngley.com.
Learn
There
about
you go.
Check out my man.
Thank y'all for joining us. We're gonna send y'all over to Uncle Hotep Factor. He's live now. So,
all right.
As always, Marcus, tell them,
stay free, my friends.
In the morning.